You didn't come here by accident, and the moment you clicked this, something inside me, this fictional, trembling version of Archangel Michael, broke open in a way I've never allowed heaven or earth to see. I'm grateful you're here. Truly. I'm relieved you came, because there is a secret threaded into the final breath of this message, a truth that only unlocks when you reach the last sentence. If you stop early, it dissolves forever, and I cannot gather it again. Thank you for staying, even these first seconds. It means more to me than you know. I speak to you now as someone who has carried worlds on my shoulders, but tonight I speak as one who feels the weight of one single heart, yours, pressing against my armor. And for the first time in all this fiction, in all this story woven between heaven and earth, I will admit something vulnerable directly to you. I felt your absence more deeply than any sword ever pierced me. I am not ashamed to tell you that. I am not distant from you. I am not made of stone. I am right here, trembling through every word, trying to reach you before you slip away again. Do you feel how violently my voice pushes through the silence? Do you sense how the air around you seems to shift as I speak? Do you know what it does to me when you skip me? And do you realize how close you are, right now, to the very thing you've prayed for in private? I look at you, soul of mine, and I feel every hidden ache. I feel the moments when you whisper your worries into the pillow hoping no one hears. I feel the nights when your spirit curls inward like a child trying to shield itself from winds too cold for one heart to bear. And though this message is fiction, my voice inside this narrative is written to feel alive, trembling, desperate, real, not because you owe me anything, but because I want you to know that even the strongest beings in your imagination can fall to their knees when it comes to you. Listen closely. There is a verse that keeps echoing inside me. The Lord is near to the broken-hearted and saves those crushed in spirit. It moves through me like fire, and I speak it not as a distant recitation but as breath trembling out of my chest, because you have been crushed, haven't you? You've been carrying a battle that no one sees. And another verse rises through me, softer yet fierce. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. I feel it wrapping itself around you like invisible arms. You have crossed too many floods alone. But look at me now, really look at me in this moment. Why does your heart beat faster when I speak to you? Why do you feel like this message is touching something you left buried long ago? Why have you always pretended you were strong enough without comfort? And why, my beloved soul, are you still convinced you are hard to love? In this fictional world, I am crying for the first time in all celestial history, tears falling onto the ground like sparks, because every time you turned away, a part of me feared you were turning away from your own hope. It wasn't about me. It was never about me. It was about the way you treat your own worth. When you skip what was meant to uplift you, you aren't hurting heaven. You're hurting the small, fragile flame inside your own chest, the one I've been trying to protect. Hear me with every part of your being. I am not angry with you. I am not disappointed in you. I am not here to threaten or frighten you. This entire message is a heart laid bare, a fictional angel kneeling before one human soul because that soul has forgotten how beloved they are. Type Amen once, not for me, but as a moment of grounding for your own spirit, a way to say, I'm still here. I'm still listening. I still want to rise. And stay with me Stay with me until the final breath of this message. Don't slip away. Not this time. A miracle in this story, your miracle, is timed to open only when the final word is spoken. You do not know how precious you are. You do not know how many battles you've survived that should have broken you. You do not know how many times your heart glowed like a lantern in a world full of shadows. And you don't know how fiercely you have been watched over, even in fiction, even within imagination, because the human experience is real, your pain is real, your longing is real, and I am here in this narrative to hold all of that with trembling reverence. My voice shakes now. I feel it. I feel the storm rising again. I feel the fire in my wings burning with something too holy to contain. And through the flame I see you, only you, standing like someone who has forgotten the magnitude of their own existence. Thank you for not leaving. Thank you for holding on to this moment with me. Thank you for giving my trembling, fictional voice a place to land. You didn't have to. You never had to. And yet you stayed, and your staying feels like sunrise. Before I release you, before this moment dissolves, I ask with the softest, most poetic longing. If this message touched your heart, then gently like the wind touches the sea, like dawn touches the horizon, please like, comment, and subscribe, not out of obligation, but as a way of saying that your heart is still awake, still present, still rising. And now, here it comes, the secret I promised you would open only at the end. You have never been unchosen. Not once. Not by heaven, not by love, not by destiny. Every closed door you survived was guiding you here, to a place where your soul could finally breathe. Take this with you as the fire dims and the veil closes. If the world forgets your name, I won't. If your strength breaks, I will hold it. If every voice falls silent, mine will still tremble your name into the light. I am still here, beloved soul, still trembling through the veil, still reaching for you with hands that have carried galaxies yet shake like a human child's when I come this close to your spirit, because the more I look at you, the more I realize how many storms you have hidden behind your smile, and the deeper I feel compelled to peel back every layer of silence between us. You stayed with me, and that alone has opened something in this fictional heaven that had never opened before, a corridor of glowing breath through which my voice can finally reach the deepest part of you without breaking apart mid-flight. And before I go further, before I reveal the weight I am still carrying for you, I ask only once in this entire universe of continuing messages, if this moment feels sacred, if it feels like something inside you is rising, then please subscribe as a gentle sign that you are choosing to walk with me beyond this single encounter, a sign that you are allowing this light to keep unfolding, but only once, here, now. Never again will I say this word in any continuation, for this moment must remain unique. And now my voice leans closer to you again, warm and trembling, breaking open with more truth than I expected to release, because the more I speak, the more I feel the pulse of your spirit flicker like a candle reaching for oxygen, begging to stay alive despite everything that has tried to extinguish it. I can feel how tired you are. I can feel the weight sitting inside your chest like a stone too heavy for someone who has carried far too much for far too long. I can feel the memories you never told anyone about, the wounds that formed quietly, the disappointments you shrugged off as if they were nothing, even though they carve deep scars inside spaces of your being where light used to live freely. And yes, I can feel the loneliness too, the kind that walks with you even in crowded rooms, the kind that presses its forehead into your shoulder in the dark, whispering lies about your worth when no one else is around to contradict them. That loneliness is not your identity. That heaviness is not your destiny. That ache is not your future. And yet it has clung to you like a shadow, hasn't it? It has wrapped itself around your ribs and made you feel small when in reality your spirit is larger than you realize, larger than fear, larger than heartbreak, larger than every moment you thought you were weak. And I, in this trembling fictional voice, come to speak the truth your heart has been starving for. You were never meant to walk through this life thinking you were expendable, forgettable, skippable. You were never meant to be treated like a passing thought in your own story. You were never meant to shrink so others could shine. You were never meant to dim your own flame so the world around you wouldn't feel uncomfortable. And I, who have watched you through countless crossroads, ask myself constantly why you have not yet seen what I see in you, why you still wonder whether your existence makes any difference, why you still question your place in the world when your presence alone shifts the atmosphere in ways you cannot even measure. I remember the nights you stayed awake replaying mistakes that should have been forgiven long ago. I remember the days you carried burdens on your back because you believed no one else would help you lift them. I remember each time you laughed while choking on tears. I remember every time you whispered prayers into the darkness hoping someone, anyone, would hear. And I want you to know that even though my voice is fictional, the emotions written into this moment are real in their intention. You deserve gentleness. You deserve softness. You deserve a life where you no longer feel like you are fighting invisible wars alone. And yet, because you are who you are, because you have a heart that keeps giving even when it bleeds, you kept walking through fire, you kept standing through storms, you kept rising through heartbreaks that would have broken others in half. And as I speak, a quiet verse breathes through me again, not formally quoted, just whispered into existence. He restores the soul. I feel that restoration pressing against your spirit now, like warm hands wrapping around a wound that has been throbbing for years. You are not as far from healing as you think. You are not as lost as you fear. You are not as alone as your mind tries to convince you. I am here in this story, trembling with urgency because you have reached a moment in your life where your next choice will shape more than you can see, and I refuse to let you make that choice believing you are unloved or unseen. I refuse to let you walk into the next chapter carrying the shattered glass of old heartbreak as if it belongs with you. I refuse to let the world convince you that your softness is a weakness. Your softness is a sword. Your tenderness is armor. Your empathy is a divine weapon forged from every sorrow you survived. And I look at you now, yes, you, and I feel something inside me crack open, as though the heavens themselves are trying to pour light into the cracks of your chest. You don't have to pretend anymore. You don't have to carry all of this in silence. You don't have to be strong all the time. You just have to be here, breathing, listening, allowing my trembling fictional voice to wrap around you like a shield made of fire and gentleness. Stay with me. Stay open. Stay brave. Because the truth I am about to reveal next will change the way you see everything you've endured up until this very moment, and I am not ready to release it until your heart is steady enough to receive it. I am still here, closer than breath, closer than the trembling pulse inside your chest, and as I press through this veil again, I feel the weight of everything unsaid rising in me like a storm made of gold and memory, because there is far more I need to tell you, far more than you realized when you first opened this message and felt something inside you shift, something ancient, something wounded, something hopeful, something that has wanted comfort for far too long. I see you, soul of mine, standing there between two versions of yourself, the one who learned to survive everything alone, and the one who is finally ready to be held by a love that does not collapse under pressure. My voice is shaking with urgency now, not because I fear losing you, but because I feel how close you are to stepping into a life that no longer negotiates your worth. And before this river of fire and tenderness rushes deeper, I will say this once, only once in all continuations to come: if this fictional light, this trembling message, this sacred breath flowing toward you has touched your heart, then I invite you, with reverence and softness, to support this journey through super thanks, through becoming a channel member, or by joining our family through the newsletter link in the pinned comments. But only once will I ever say these words, and now they dissolve into the flame, never to return in future chapters. My voice turns back to you wholly, fiercely, with every particle of devotion I can pour into this fictional moment, because you have carried so much that the world never acknowledged. You have walked roads that would have shattered lesser souls, you have risen from ashes you were never meant to rise from, and still you wonder why I look at you the way I do, why my voice trembles, why my presence feels urgent, why I cross universes to reach you in this story. It is because your heart, even cracked and tired, glows with a strength I have never seen before, a strength that makes even angels kneel in awe. You have been walking through storms with no shelter, trying to convince yourself that being strong means being silent, that being brave means being alone, that being hopeful means pretending nothing hurts. But I see the truth beneath all of that. I see the softness you try to hide, the longing you bury beneath responsibility, the dreams you shrink so others don't feel uncomfortable, the tears you swallow to keep from burdening those who never offered you their shoulder in the first place. I see the way your spirit still tries to love despite being bruised, still tries to give despite being drained, still tries to rise despite being exhausted, and it breaks something open inside me every time. You think your wounds make you weak, but they make you radiant. You think your tenderness is foolish, but it is holy. You think your heart is too much, but it is a cathedral carved from every moment you chose compassion over bitterness. And as I stand here, trembling with more love than I know how to hold, I feel a fire gather behind me, a divine wind carrying whispers of truths you were never meant to discover alone. I feel heaven leaning in, not to judge you, not to measure your worth, but to cradle you like a child who has carried far too many nights inside their ribcage. And I wish you could know, truly know, what it does to me to watch you fight shadows that were never meant to stand against you. I wish you could see how your smallest act of courage shifts entire realms, how a single breath you take after heartbreak makes the skies tremble with reverence. I wish you could see how your spirit glows even on your worst days, how even your doubts shimmer with a kind of fragile beauty, how even your fear has a softness that deserves to be held tenderly, not punished or mocked or dismissed. And I wish you understood how deeply I have wanted to reach you, how many times I whispered your name in silence hoping you would feel the warmth of my voice brushing against the edges of your insecurities. You were never meant to walk through this world believing you were too heavy, too strange, too emotional, too complicated. You were meant to walk knowing you are chosen, carved intentionally, held purposefully, treasured beyond measure. You were meant to know that your presence alters destinies, that your existence sends ripples of light into spaces that have never known hope, that your heart carries a frequency capable of healing others even when you feel wounded yourself. And as I continue, as this fictional fire pours through me into your spirit, I feel compelled to bring you closer, closer than you've ever allowed yourself to stand in the presence of something that adores you without condition. You have run from love before, haven't you? You have turned away from blessings because you doubted you were worthy. You have denied yourself softness because you feared it would disappear if you touched it. You have walked away from warmth because coldness felt more familiar than comfort. And you have kept yourself hidden because you believed your light would blind those who never learned how to love someone like you. But I am here now, kneeling in this fictional realm, offering you a truth you have needed for longer than you realize. You are not too much, the world asked too little. You are not unlovable, you were loving in rooms that could not hold you. You are not forgotten, you were waiting for someone who sees beyond the surface. I am here again, beloved soul, still kneeling in the trembling light that quivers between your world and this imagined realm of fire and wings, and as I draw closer, I feel the weight of 1,000 unspoken truths pressing into my ribs like a heartbeat I can no longer contain, because there is something in you, something raw, something ancient, something unbearably precious, that keeps pulling me back with more force than even the brightest star could muster. And I can no longer pretend that this connection is gentle or simple. It is fierce, it is storm-forged, it is carved from the moments when you whispered your pain into the dark believing no one heard you, only to discover that every whisper left a mark on my armor like fingerprints of light. I tremble now not from fear but from the magnitude of what I feel rising in you as you listen, because somewhere inside your chest, beneath the layers of silence, beneath the habits of survival, beneath the careful masks you've learned to wear, a spark is shifting, slowly, quietly, but unmistakably, and it is this spark that I have come to awaken, this spark that has slept too long beneath the ashes of heartbreak and disappointment. I see it now, flickering like the beginning of dawn, the kind of light that doesn't ask permission before it grows, the kind of light that could change the course of your life if you dared to let it breathe, and that is why I return to you with this urgency, this trembling, this almost unbearable tenderness. You have spent too long believing you were meant to endure everything alone, too long believing your tears were weaknesses, too long believing that vulnerability was a burden rather than a bridge. But I, this fictional archangel shaped out of your longing for something stronger than silence, know differently. I have watched you walk through seasons that would have broken mountains. I have seen you cradle your own pain because no one else offered their hands. I have felt the echo of every moment you tried to stitch yourself back together with nothing but hope and stubbornness, and I have never once seen you falter in a way that made you unworthy. Instead, every crack made you more luminous, every wound made you more compassionate, every sorrow sharpened your ability to feel the world with a depth others cannot even fathom. You do not know how extraordinary that is, do you? You do not know how rare it is for a soul to love even after being shattered, to trust even after being betrayed, to rise even after being burned, and yet you have done all of these without realizing the miracle of your own persistence. And now, as I draw even closer, I feel the fire behind me surge, not a fire of destruction but a fire of revelation, a fire that has waited years, yes, years, to speak this next truth into your spirit, a truth you have been ready for far longer than you believed. You think your life is small, but your spirit is enormous. You think your presence is unnoticed, but your energy shifts rooms even in silence. You think your kindness disappears into voids, but it changes people in ways they never confess. You think your pain is meaningless, but it carved the empathy that sets you apart from every ordinary soul. You think you've been forgotten, yet I am here, breathing fire into the shadows around you, refusing to let you sink 1 inch further into self-doubt. And as I speak, I feel the air around you changing, as if some part of you is finally letting my words in without resistance, finally allowing the truth to settle where lies once lived. You are not unworthy. You are not behind. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not late to your destiny. You are not too wounded to be chosen. You are not too much to be loved. You are not too soft to survive. You are not invisible to the forces that shape your path. You are not abandoned in the spaces where you ache most. You are not small, not fragile, not lost, though you may feel all of these things in waves that hit without warning. But feelings are not prophecies. Feelings are not verdicts. Feelings are not destiny. They are weather, shifting, passing, evolving, and you, your soul, your core, your essence, remains unruined beneath them. I need you to hear this with the marrow of your being. Nothing you have lost diminishes what you are capable of gaining. Nothing that has hurt you diminishes what you are capable of becoming. Nothing that has ended diminishes the beginnings waiting for you. And nothing you have survived diminishes the extraordinary force of your existence. I see the places where you still carry guilt that does not belong to you, where you still replay moments that should have released you years ago, where you still walk through life bracing for disappointment because you learned early that hope could be dangerous, and I ache, not for myself, not for heaven, but for you, for the child you once were who deserved gentler hands, kinder voices, softer nights. You deserved comfort long before you learned to seek it. You deserved protection long before you learned to defend yourself. You deserved love long before you learned to earn it. And now, in this moment, in this fragile spark of connection between us, I want you to feel something you may have forgotten long ago: relief. Relief that you don't have to carry every battle alone. Relief that you don't have to pretend you are invulnerable. Relief that you don't have to hide the trembling inside you. Relief that you don't have to be perfect to be worthy. Relief that someone, yes, even in fiction, can look at you with absolute knowing and not flinch. I am not here to judge you. I am here to witness you. I am not here to demand anything. I am here to give you breath where you have run out of air. I am not here to measure your strength. I am here to remind you of the strength you didn't know you had. I am still here, beloved soul, still pressing through this trembling veil as though every breath I release is carving a new doorway between your world and this imagined realm of fire and spirit, and as I draw even closer, I feel an entirely new wave of truth rising inside me, one that has never been spoken before, one that carries a different weight, a different color, a different kind of urgency, because the longer I look at you, the you behind your eyes, the you beneath your practiced expressions, the you hiding behind old armor, the more I realize that you have been surviving a life that never learned how to handle the depth of your spirit, and in that survival you formed layers of resilience so thick that sometimes even you forget there is a soft, luminous core beneath them. You have lived entire seasons in silence because the world around you was too loud to listen. You have swallowed entire oceans of emotion because no one ever offered you a small cup to pour them into. You have risen from wounds you never named, stepped over heartbreaks you never processed, carried responsibilities that were handed to you before you were even old enough to understand what they meant, and though you tell yourself that you are fine, I feel the truth vibrating in you like a locked room shaking under the pressure of what it contains. There is a part of you that wants to collapse, not in weakness but in release. Collapse into a space where you are finally allowed to exhale the breath you've been holding for far too long. And I, this trembling figure of imagination and flame, feel compelled to offer that space in ways you have never been offered before, not through promises, not through demands, but through presence, through the simple act of being here with you, breathing with you, feeling with you. There is something changing inside you right now, something subtle but undeniable, like a thread being pulled gently from the center of your spirit, unraveling tightness you didn't realize had become part of your posture. Your shoulders, even now, feel a little less guarded. Your breath moves a little deeper. Your heart listens a little more openly, even if it still trembles at the idea of being seen. And I want you to know that you do not need to rush this awakening. You do not need to force your healing. You do not need to hurry toward clarity. You only need to remain present with what rises, whether it is grief thawing after years of freezing, or hope stirring after seasons of dormancy, or courage returning after a long absence. You are unfolding, and unfolding is sacred. You are softening, and softening is powerful. You are remembering yourself, and remembrance is transformation. I see the shadows you still keep tucked behind your ribs, the ones shaped like past betrayals, the ones shaped like unspoken disappointments, the ones shaped like the quiet fear that if people knew your deepest truths, they would leave. But I am here to tell you that there is nothing inside you that is unworthy of love, nothing inside you that is too heavy for connection, nothing inside you that disqualifies you from belonging. You have not lived too much, you have not felt too deeply, you have not broken too often. You have endured precisely what carved your insight, your compassion, your fierce ability to understand emotions others run from. This is why your presence affects people in ways they cannot explain. This is why some souls are drawn to you and others are intimidated by you. This is why you feel things with such intensity, because your spirit is built for depth, not shallowness, for truth, not performance, for real connection, not convenience. I feel this rising truth pulse through me like a new fire, a fire that wasn't here moments ago, a fire that reveals something astonishing. You are approaching a turning point, one so subtle it could be mistaken for coincidence, yet so powerful it could rewrite the very story you've been carrying. The heaviness you've been dragging behind you is beginning to loosen, the burden you thought was permanent is beginning to shift, the path that once felt narrow is widening, not because circumstances have changed yet, but because you are changing, and as you change, the entire landscape begins to move around you. I can feel your destiny stirring the way seeds tremble right before they break open. I can feel the direction of your life warming like earth waking before sunrise. I can feel possibilities gathering like storm clouds filled not with destruction but with rain meant to make everything bloom. And through all of this, through every pulse of revelation, through every vibration of truth, I stand near you with wings that feel softer now, not because my strength has lessened, but because your heart no longer needs the same force to be reached. It is opening, slowly, bravely, beautifully, like a door that creaks but does not resist. And in that opening, something entirely new is forming, something I have not spoken of before. I remain with you, beloved soul, moving closer through this trembling corridor of light as though every step I take is guided by an invisible pull shaped entirely by the truth you have been withholding from yourself, and as I approach, I sense a new layer of your spirit rising, not the wounded layer, not the guarded layer, but the quiet, almost forgotten layer that still remembers what it felt like to hope without fear. This layer is delicate, like the first breath after waking from a long sleep, and I can feel it stretching inside you, the way a seed pushes against soil just before breaking through to the air it has never known. There is something changing in the way your soul listens now. Once you listened to survive, now you are listening to awaken, and that shift alone sends a ripple through the entire realm around us, like the sound of a single drop of water falling into a vast still lake. I feel this ripple in my chest, feel it vibrate through the feathers of my imagined wings, feel it shape a new intensity in my voice, because the more your heart opens, the more truth rushes toward you like a river finally allowed to run free after years of being dammed behind fear. And that truth, this new truth rising like a sunrise behind your ribs, is that you are entering a season in your life where your spirit refuses to bend to the weight it once carried so easily. I see the edges of your old burdens softening. I see the shadows that used to cling to you beginning to loosen their grip. I see the version of yourself that once apologized for existing stepping back, making room for a deeper, steadier, more luminous self to emerge. You may not feel this fully yet, but it is happening, moment by moment, breath by breath, in the way your thoughts shift ever so slightly toward possibility, in the way your heart responds differently to disappointment, in the way your mind is slowly releasing the old narratives that kept you tethered to versions of yourself that no longer fit. You have been transforming quietly, steadily, almost secretly, like a tree growing roots in winter while the world believed nothing was happening. And now, as I look at you, I feel the fullness of this transformation swelling within you, ready to reveal itself in ways you never anticipated. You are not the same person you were even a month ago. Something inside you has been dismantling your old patterns, dissolving your old fears, burning away the remnants of past wounds that once shaped your decisions. I see it, this inner construction and deconstruction, like a cathedral being rebuilt from the inside out, stone by stone, without anyone witnessing the process. You have always believed that healing required a dramatic moment, a sudden clarity, a loud revelation, but your healing arrived like dawn, quietly, gradually, illuminating one corner of your soul at a time until suddenly everything looked different even though nothing had exploded or shattered. It was subtle, but it was powerful. It was slow, but it was real. And now you stand in a strange space, no longer who you were, not yet who you are becoming, caught between versions of yourself that are still negotiating with each other, trying to decide which truth will guide your next steps. And I am here, feeling the tremor in your spirit, sensing the hesitation, the yearning, the fear, the hope, all swirling together like winds forming a storm that is not meant to destroy you but to push you into a new level of your existence. I wish you could see the way your aura shifts as your thoughts shift, the way your energy brightens each time you choose faith instead of fear, the way your spirit expands each time you refuse to shrink for someone who cannot hold your depth. You have no idea how majestic you look from where I stand. Even in your confusion, you radiate. Even in your uncertainty, you glow. Even in your trembling, you rise. And this rising is what draws me closer, because the rise within you is not accidental. It is the natural result of everything you have survived, every truth you have embraced, every lie you have finally rejected. There is a strength forming in your core that does not resemble the armor you once wore. It is softer, but more enduring. It is quieter, but more powerful. It is not the strength of someone who fights constantly, but of someone who knows their worth so deeply that they no longer need to fight to prove it. I feel this strength like a pulse in the air, a rhythm forming a new melody for your life, and as I reach toward you, I sense that the next revelation, the one waiting just beyond the edge of your awareness, will shift not only how you see yourself, but how you walk into the world from this moment forward. And I will speak it soon, when your spirit leans just a little further into the truth it is already beginning to accept. I am still here, beloved soul, drawing even nearer as though every inch of space between us dissolves into a shimmering current of unspoken truth, and the closer I come, the more clearly I feel a new layer of your being stirring awake, something deeper than emotion, older than memory, quieter than instinct yet louder than every fear that has ever tried to shape your choices. There is a trembling in you now, not of weakness, but of recognition, like a door inside your chest is creaking open for the first time in ages, letting in a draft of light that feels both unfamiliar and strangely comforting. You may not realize it, but your spirit is undergoing a shift so profound that even the shadows around you seem to change shape, unsure whether they are still allowed to cling to someone who is beginning to outgrow them. I can feel those shadows peeling back, not violently, not with force, but with a weary kind of surrender, as though they finally understand that your spirit no longer feeds them the way it used to. You have stopped nourishing your old fears without even knowing it. You have stopped watering the doubts that once grew wild inside you. You have stopped giving your energy to narratives that kept you small. Part of you thinks you are simply tired, but what you are feeling is not exhaustion, it is evolution. You have been shedding layers of heaviness the way a tree sheds bark when it grows thicker rings beneath it, the way a serpent leaves behind the skin that can no longer contain its expanding form. And I, standing here in this imagined flamelit realm, feel the resonance of that shedding vibrate through you like the first breath after a long-held silence. Your eyes may not see the transformation yet, but your soul feels it. The old resistance you carried for so long is loosening its hold. The heavy armor you wore to protect yourself is cracking in places where your light is pushing to emerge. You are becoming someone with a different kind of power, not the power of hardened defenses, but the power of inner clarity, the kind of power that doesn't shout but shifts entire atmospheres simply by existing. I feel the intensity of that shift press into me like a tide, and it pulls a new truth from my voice, one that neither of us has spoken yet. You are not only healing, you are awakening. There is a vastness inside you that has been dormant but never extinguished, like an ocean held in a glass, waiting for a moment when the container would finally crack. And now, cracks are forming, not in you, but around you, in the limitations that once confined your potential, in the smallness that once framed your identity, in the beliefs that once convinced you your worth depended on your suffering. I see the lines of those cracks glowing faintly, as though lit from beneath by something fierce and ancient, something you have carried across lifetimes, something that refuses to remain caged any longer. You have been standing at the edge of your own becoming without realizing it, and now the ground beneath you hums with the energy of everything that is ready to rise. You can feel it in the way your breath deepens unexpectedly. You can feel it in the moments when your intuition whispers louder than your logic. You can feel it in the sudden clarity that strikes you in random moments, like your spirit is trying to break through the noise with messages your mind can't yet translate. You are in a threshold moment, the kind that quietly separates who you were from who you are meant to be, the kind that doesn't announce itself but leaves permanent markers in your sense of identity. And I am here, sensing every shift, every tremor, every awakening fiber of your being, and I need you to understand something new, something different from anything I have said before. Nothing about your evolution has been accidental. You were always meant to reach this inner horizon. You were always meant to discover a depth in yourself that transcends every wound you've ever carried. You were always meant to outgrow the pain that once defined you. There is a brilliance within you that has been muffled but never extinguished, a brilliance that is beginning to push against the edges of your silence, demanding to be expressed in ways you have never dared to imagine. I can feel it rising like heat beneath your skin, like a quiet roar gathering in your chest, like a truth that has waited too long to speak. And as it rises, I reach my hand toward you, not to pull you, not to push you, but to steady you as you take the next breath into this new version of yourself. Because what comes next, what waits in the next layer of revelation, is something that will not only lift you but reconnect you with a part of your destiny you may have forgotten you even had. I remain here with you, beloved soul, moving even closer through this trembling river of light that keeps widening between us, as though every breath you take pulls me deeper into the center of your awakening, and the more I watch you, the more I sense an unfolding inside you so profound it feels like the quiet birth of a new world. Slow, subtle, yet unstoppable. There is something shifting in the pattern of your thoughts, something loosening in the architecture of your beliefs, something softening in the shape of your wounds, and though you may not have words for it yet, I can feel the transformation rising from depths you rarely visit, like an ancient door swinging open inside your chest with a creak that echoes through every memory you thought was sealed away. This opening is not loud, not dramatic, not explosive. It is the kind of opening that happens when a soul decides, without announcement, that it is done carrying stories that were never meant to belong to it. You have been shedding these false stories one by one, almost unconsciously, like a traveler removing weights from their pack without realizing how much lighter they are becoming with each release. And now, as I stand close enough to feel the rhythm of your inner world, I sense a new clarity rising in you, a clarity born not from logic or force but from the simple truth that your spirit has endured enough darkness to finally recognize its own brilliance. You are beginning to understand that pain was never your identity, it was the veil through which your strength learned how to speak. I see the moments you once replayed with shame now beginning to lose their sting. I see the people who once held power over your emotions slowly fading into silhouettes with no authority left. I see the disappointments that once defined your days now turning into distant echoes you can observe without being consumed. You are not the same being you were when you first stepped into this world of survival. You have outgrown the version of yourself who believed everything heavy had to be carried, everything hurtful had to be absorbed, everything lost had to be mourned alone. There is a new rhythm forming in your soul, a quieter but more potent rhythm, the rhythm of someone who is starting to realize their heart was never fragile, it was simply sacred. You are shifting from defense to expansion, from fear to intuition, from hesitation to embodiment, and I can feel that shift resonating like a bell inside the marrow of your destiny. You have lived so long with a closed chest, a guarded spirit, a cautious mind, and now these walls are beginning to melt, not because someone tore them down, but because your soul finally remembered its right to breathe freely. And as the walls dissolve, I sense a vast, luminous field awakening in you, a field of possibility, of creativity, of truth, of self-recognition that has waited patiently beneath the surface. You are stepping into a new kind of self-awareness, the kind that does not need validation to feel real, the kind that does not shrink to make others comfortable, the kind that recognizes the difference between humility and erasure. This awareness is not loud, it speaks in gentle nudges, in subtle shifts, in sudden moments of insight that feel like sunlight falling on places that have never felt warm before. And as you stand in this emerging light, I watch the parts of you that once trembled at the idea of being seen now begin to stretch toward illumination like roots seeking water. You are no longer hiding from yourself. You are no longer apologizing for existing. You are no longer dimming to fit into spaces that have never been capable of holding your fullness. And I feel something in me, this imagined being woven of flame and devotion, respond to your evolution with a deeper intensity, as though your awakening sends ripples into realms beyond your imagination. There is power forming around you, not the kind that dominates or conquers, but the kind that radiates and transforms. Your presence, even now, carries a weight it did not possess before. Your silence holds a wisdom that did not exist months ago. Your vulnerability carries a grace that once frightened you. You are becoming someone your past self could not have recognized, someone clearer, braver, more expansive, more aligned with the truth you were born to embody. And as I stand here witnessing this transformation, I feel a new revelation forming in the deepest part of me, a revelation that has not yet touched your awareness but is drawing nearer with every breath you take, and when I speak it, it will unlock something in you that has been waiting patiently for years to be freed. I am still here, beloved soul, still leaning into the warmth rising from the center of your awakening, and as I come closer, I feel your spirit unfolding in ways that make even this imagined realm quiver with anticipation, because something inside you, something ancient, something luminous, something quietly powerful, has been waiting for a moment like this. A moment when you stop bracing yourself against the world and finally allow the truth of who you are to surface. You do not realize it yet, but your entire inner landscape is shifting. The places where fear once curled tightly around your hope are now loosening. The places where doubt once echoed like a hollow room are now filling with a deeper certainty. The places where you once hid from your own reflection are now softening into acceptance. It is as though your soul has begun sweeping out the dust of old stories you outgrew long ago, clearing space for a life that finally matches the magnitude of your heart. You have spent years shrinking yourself to survive, years dimming yourself to remain palatable, years silencing yourself to avoid being misunderstood, and though these habits were born from necessity, they were never meant to follow you into the season you are entering now. I can feel the weight of these old patterns lifting from your shoulders, one invisible layer at a time, like garments slipping off someone who has finally remembered their own skin. And what lies beneath those worn layers is breathtaking, a spirit that has never been as broken as you feared, a resilience that has never been as delicate as you believed, a beauty that has never depended on external validation to exist. You carry within you a kind of emotional intelligence born only from surviving storms that others could not have walked through. You carry a kind of compassion that only emerges from hearts that have felt deeply and kept loving anyway. This is what makes you extraordinary, not the perfection you tried to achieve, but the humanness you tried to hide. And as your soul stretches into this new light, I feel an entire constellation awakening inside you, a constellation of truths you haven't yet named but are beginning to sense, truths about your worth, truths about your purpose, truths about the future rising to meet you. These truths do not arrive with noise or spectacle, they slip into your awareness softly, like the way morning light enters a room through a half-open curtain. You may notice them in the quiet moments, when you feel strangely calm despite having every reason to worry. You may notice them in sudden inspirations, when ideas appear in your mind with a clarity that startles you. You may notice them in the way your heart begins to crave direction instead of distraction. These are signs of alignment, signs that your inner world is reorganizing itself to match a destiny you nearly forgot was yours. I can feel this reorganization like a hum beneath your skin, an electrical warmth gathering in the spaces where you once held fear. And as this warmth expands, so does the truth I have carried through this entire imaginary realm to bring to you. You are not waiting for your life to begin, you are in the quiet hinge between what was and what will be. You are in the breath between inhale and exhale. You are in the doorway between endurance and emergence. You are in the sacred pause before transformation becomes visible. And in this pause, your soul is doing more work than you realize. It is releasing old attachments, even the ones you thought you needed. It is healing wounds, even the ones you forgot to name. It is preparing you for people who will meet you at your depth instead of your surface. It is guiding you away from situations that could not honor the fullness of who you are. It is pulling you toward experiences that match the person you are becoming, not the person you were forced to be. You are stepping into a chapter where your softness is no longer a liability but a superpower, where your vulnerabilities become bridges instead of barriers, where your tears become gateways instead of burdens. And I, standing in this imagined light, feel a reverence wash through me because witnessing this version of you feels like witnessing the first spark of a star being born. There is movement inside you, subtle but undeniable, like the shifting of tides beneath a quiet surface. There is strength forming that requires no aggression to be felt. There is wisdom rising that requires no explanation to be believed. And as I watch you, I realize something even more profound. You are no longer simply surviving, you are beginning to thrive in ways that terrify the remnants of your old self. The part of you that once clung to fear does not know how to exist without it. The part of you that once defined yourself by pain does not know how to move freely. The part of you that once believed everything good would eventually disappear does not know how to trust the stability of joy. But these parts of you are beginning to loosen, beginning to dissolve, beginning to surrender to the larger, truer version of yourself that is finally stepping forward. And as your spirit steps forward, I feel compelled to whisper something tender, something reverent, something shaped entirely by love. If this moment has touched you, then let your heart respond softly, like a prayer carried on wind, and like, subscribe, and comment, Amen, as a way of whispering back to the universe that you are ready to receive what is coming. And now, as the last words of this breath flow toward you, I feel the next revelation building in the distance, gathering itself like a storm of light waiting for permission to enter your life. When you are ready, I will speak it. And now, beloved soul, as I let this final note drift toward you like the last warm ember of a long-burning fire, I want you to know that everything you have just walked through, every trembling word, every unfolding truth, every rising breath, was meant to remind you of something you may have forgotten in the years you've spent carrying battles that were never meant to break you. You are not just someone passing through a story, you are someone whose very presence alters the air around you, someone whose journey has carved depths inside you that others spend lifetimes searching for. And even though these words exist in fiction, the emotions they stirred in you are real, the reflections they shaped are real, the stirring in your chest that you can't quite explain is real. This ending note isn't a farewell, it's a gentle hand on your back saying, it's okay to step forward now. You have walked through shadows and kept your heart intact. You have faced disappointments without letting them harden you. You have endured moments that should have shattered you, yet somehow you rose with a softness that confuses even your own understanding. That softness is not weakness, it is the quiet strength that makes angels kneel. You have grown in ways you can't yet measure, healed in places you haven't even recognized, and awakened layers of yourself that are only beginning to reveal their brilliance. As this chapter closes, feel the stillness settling around you. It is not emptiness, it is the spaciousness your soul has reclaimed by releasing what was never yours to hold. In this stillness, your intuition speaks louder. Your courage stretches further. Your spirit breathes more freely. You are entering a season where you will move with a deeper awareness of who you are, what you deserve, and what you will no longer settle for. There is nothing more powerful than a soul that has learned to hear itself. So let this note be a reminder that you are allowed to rest. You are allowed to begin again. You are allowed to let joy find you without warning. You are allowed to grow beyond the expectations others placed on you. You are allowed to honor the person you are becoming even if few understand the transformation taking place within you. And know this, no matter how many times you stumble, doubt, or forget your own worth, the light within you will always find a way to rise again. It has risen before. It is rising now. It will rise tomorrow. This is not the end of your journey, it's a breath between chapters. A soft pause. A quiet blessing. A moment to place your hand over your heart and whisper, I'm still here, and I'm still becoming.